the experiences, the thoughts and efforts towards a continental approach, a continental framework to improve early childhood education and development. Thank you so much, Moses, for joining this sharing, this knowledge sharing webinar. We are really happy to have also this perspective. It's a completely different sector, but it is absolutely fundamental. Thank you, Moses. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Eduarda, can you hear me from your end?
Yes, very well. And we can see the presentation also. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to Professor Mbachi and Professor Gue for that elaborate presentation. Really, as I sat here, I was trying to look at the linkage between the qualification framework and also quality assurance, the issues of morals with early childhood development. I would also want to say that I can see my senior, Dr. Jacqueline Onyango from Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development. Thank you, Dr. For joining in. Basically, I also share greetings from my executive director and also staff from AfECN. So basically, my presentation will focus on situating early childhood education and development within the African Continental Qualification Framework, basically trying to link issues of teacher workforce development, the issues of professional development pathways, and also how we could be able to link this with the efforts that are ongoing. So basically, that will be my presentation. Will focus on a brief overview about Africa Early Childhood Network, situating the ECED cluster within the agenda of 2063 and CISA 1625, highlighting early childhood development cluster objectives that are relevant to the ACQF and also suggest opportunities for collaboration. So basically, this tells us that ECD is very, very important as it forms the foundation for future learning. That investment in early years provides a critical foundation for accumulation of human capital that are needed to realize child potential as a productive member of a society. We also realize that with better human capital outcomes, there are probability of higher earnings for people and also better socio-economic development of a nation. So basically, this graph just shows us that investment in early years is critical as returns on unit dollar investment invested are highest during early years. So basically, this slide just tries to give us a flavor in terms of emergence of new capabilities during early years, and these are important as the child climbs the ladder in terms of primary, secondary, and tertiary education. We've been kind of exposed to elements of higher education by Professor Mbachi and also Gue, but basically we realize that these skills that are being sharpened at higher levels, their genesis are at early years. So we say that across all domains of child development, the most critical period is between conception and 2 years. And we see that the period between conception and 5 years is critical in laying the foundation across all domains of development, including higher cognitive functions and also socio-emotional development. which are very, very key as the child grows. This demonstrates the linkage between investment in early childhood development and human capital development. We can be able to see that in terms of developmental domains, look at the darker shading that donates a critical period. In terms of receptive language, you see that it is highest between birth and around 2.5 to 3 years. In terms of expressive language, it is highest between, we can say 6 months and 5 years. In terms of higher cognitive functioning, including executive functioning, highest between maybe 1.5 years and 11 to 12 years. Then socio-emotional development starts from birth to around 10 years. So you find that by the time the child transits to primary education, that is at the age of 6, 7, 8, which is still a transitional period for early childhood development, all these critical domains of development have taken shape. So it is very, very important for us to look at ECD as a building block to future learning and education outcomes. So basically, there are efforts at the regional level to champion excellence in protecting children's rights, improving practice, and also strengthening partnership, basically to accelerate early childhood development outcomes across the continent. And Africa Early Childhood Early Childhood Network provides this platform. The network basically brings together civil society organizations, among others, government and also public institutions at national and regional levels, and works across 5 program areas, that is promoting regional advocacy, strengthening partnerships, knowledge generation, improved practice, and leadership in this area. Basically, AfECN is a privilege to coordinate the Africa Union CESA 1625 Early Childhood Cluster. And basically, the cluster supports and advances efforts towards effective implementation of the objectives related to early years. And participation in the ECD cluster can be done through working groups, and we can do it through that linkage. So basically, ECD is prominent in the Agenda 2063 that calls for universal access to quality early childhood, primary, and secondary education, and ensuring that no child is left behind. And therefore, CESA 1625 identifies pre-primary education as an important element in achievement of the above, but it is a neglected subsector. It also recognizes that early childhood is a pillar for future learning, sustained quality education and training, and therefore supports implementation of the continental framework objectives related to early years. The African Union Commission launched the cluster on 4th September 2018. So basically, these are the objectives of the cluster: enhancing policy, advocacy, and communication. Also intensify actions to improve equitable access to quality ECD programs and services. And this is, I think, where basically there is that intersection with the qualification framework and the discussions that we've been having in terms of enhancement or advocacy for equitable access to quality services. Then there's the element of improved quality of ECD systems, strengthening the capacity of ECD workforce, supporting relevant and comprehensive regional and national curriculum, and also enhancing quality assurance and assessment mechanisms. So you realize that the discussions that have been ongoing with Professor Gwaye and Professor Mbache really is really situated within these two objectives. But we also have related objectives, for example, improved governance and accountability, enhancement of research generation, documentation and dissemination, and also strengthening partnership. So basically, this is how the cluster is organized with the chair, Africa Union Commission. The co-chair is the government of Mauritius. AfECN acts as the coordinator and the secretariat to the cluster. The cluster was operationalized by basically a forming of a technical committee and 4 working groups. That is policy, advocacy and communication, governance and accountability, access to quality ECD services, knowledge generation and dissemination. So each working group has a member state serving as the chair and a development partner as the convener. The chairs and conveners of each working group, as well as the AUC, AfECN, and that node together form the technical committee. And the graph alongside provides more information about that. So basically, these are the objectives that may be relevant to the African Continental Qualification Framework Project, the ones highlighted. The one highlighted in green is very, very related. That is 3.32. You realize that one of the objectives under enhanced quality assurance and assessment mechanisms, there is need for setting up of national qualification frameworks and regional qualification frameworks to facilitate creation of multiple pathways for professional development in the ECD sector. So this is very, very much aligned to the discussions and the work of the going across the objectives, conducting a landscape analysis on ECD workforce across the region, development of regional workforce development strategy, including career path, good working and living conditions, development of a framework for implementation of strategy for continuous professional development, identification and rewarding of dedicated and innovative ECD teachers, designing and supporting adoption of regional ECD curriculum framework, strengthening national curriculum, including gender-sensitive ECD training. So you realize that these objectives are very, very relevant to the discussions that we've been having and the focus of the African Continental Qualification Framework Project. So in terms of key milestones related to ECD teacher qualification, we've conducted analysis of early learning workforce in sub-Saharan Africa, and I'll be able to share this. We've also developed a guideline for improving quality and capacity of ECD workforce in Africa. We've been participating in teacher development cluster activities, including sharing best practices on how to improve ECD teacher qualification and professional development, and also strengthening capacity of national advocacy partners in 17 African countries to support and provide input to ECD policy development and implementation, including improvement of the ECD workforce development. Eduarda talked about the proposed Africa Union Early Childhood Education Framework that is ongoing. The discussions are ongoing. We have a draft that is being presented, that will be presented to the cluster, to the ECD cluster on 20th of July 2020. And basically, I think then we'll have a robust discussions in terms of how this will frame. But basically, the framework provides guidance, provides resources and tools that will help African countries and AU member states basically address service delivery gaps in the ECD subsector. It also provides a number of case studies and also best practices that could be could be learned from. So basically, that is the efforts that are ongoing around that. So in terms of opportunities for collaboration with the ACQF project, basically there is need for the dissemination of the AfCAN guidelines for improving quality and capacity of ECD workforce in Africa. Maybe as we go along in terms of discussions, we could find a place where we could piggyback on the ongoing efforts of the ACQF to disseminate this guideline. We're also thinking of conducting analysis on the extent of integration of ECD into national qualification frameworks. I know there are quite a number of efforts that have been done across the region in terms of development of national qualification frameworks, and also attempts to develop regional qualification frameworks. But it is also important, as we know, and we've observed, that early childhood forms the foundation. There is need for us also to look at the extent of integration of ECD into national qualification framework. So this is an opportunity where we could collaborate and then see how best we could improve on the same. Then there is also the development of regional workforce development strategy, including career path, continuous development, good working and living conditions, which is really captured under ECD cluster objective 3.12. And then lastly, setting up of national qualification frameworks and regional qualification frameworks to facilitate the creation of multiple pathways for professional development. So basically, this may not be a standalone kind of national qualification framework, but if ECD could be integrated within the national qualification framework, I think that will be suffice. And also in terms of the ACQF, then we need to find maybe space for ECD so that this sector and the professions and professionals are not left behind. So basically, that is what I wanted to share in a nutshell in terms of the relationship between ACQF and early childhood development and efforts at the regional through the ECD cluster. And basically, this is a work in progress, opportunities for collaboration as we improve education across all levels, from early childhood to higher levels. Otherwise, I think that marks the end of my presentation.